Good afternoon. This is an introduction to the seven seals, the seven trumpets, the vials of the wrath of God, and the millennial system that follows it. Now, the seven seals basically originate and are covered in paper number 140. They originate in Revelation chapter 6 with the four horsemen of the apocalypse. And it says in Revelation 6, "And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seven seals, and I heard one of the four living creatures say as with a voice of thunder, 'Come.' And I saw a white horse, and a rider had a bow, and a crown was given him, and he went out conquering and to conquer." These seven seals were basically opened by Christ and began a long time ago, and there were the heavenly signs associated with that even beforehand. Now these systems and the four horsemen of the apocalypse are a major aspect of prophecy that have not been properly explained and cannot be explained within the religious system of the Trinitarian Sunday worshipping system of the Sun and Mystery cults. They can't explain them because it runs counter to their theology and their understanding. That's why you'll never get any real sense out of the Trinitarian system in that regard. Now, in 141a, we deal with the overview, which deals with the structure through from 140, 141 being the seven trumpets, and then through the explanation of 141a. Now, there are a number of papers in the series, the 141 series, and it explains the sequence. And we go from 141a and the seals and trumpets to the vials of the wrath of God in the millennium. Preparing for the wars of the end, number 141a, underlined 2. Wars of the last days and the vials of the wrath of God, number 141b. Wars of the end, part 1. Wars of Amalek, covered in number 141c. Now we are through at the end of that phase in the Wars of Amalek and have been coming through that phase over the last 30 years. We then go on to the conduct of the War of the Sixth Trumpet, which is covered in number 141c, underlined 2, which is the war that we are about to undertake. We've started the War of the Sixth Trumpet in the War of the Fifth Trumpet now, and have been for the last 3 years, and we are now about to see the end of the sequence with the War of the Sixth Trumpet, which will be a thermonuclear war, and it will emerge in 3 phases. It will come out from the Middle East through these insane actions of Iran, through Hezbollah and Hamas and the Palestinian structure. That will come to a head very soon. Immediately that it does, China will declare war on Taiwan, invade Taiwan, and the Russians will then go into Europe. And we explain how some of those things occur, and we will do a specific explanation of the wars into Europe in the next series concerning these 141 sequences. We also deal with the World War III Holocaust 2 and the Nuremberg 2 in number 141C underline 3. That will cover these current genocidal vaccinations being undertaken through the World Health Organization and the UN. The conflict for the control of the beast is explained in number 141C underline 4, and it will help you understand the insanity of the political movements in North America and in Europe, where you can see the Republican and Democrat insanity, conflicts. And America is on the verge of civil war, and it's most important that we understand that's where we're at. And anything could happen out of the sequence. For instance, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that the Democrats will initiate World War III and the nuclear exchanges simply to stop the elections in November of 2024. It's all that insane and that inexplicable unpreparedness. Anything could happen. Then we go on to the Wars of the End Part 2, the 1260 Days of the Witnesses, number 141D. 141D deals with the promised witnesses of Enoch and Elijah moving forward in time, and they were taken, and God says in Malachi 4:5 that God will send us the prophet Elijah before the great and terrible day of the Lord. That process is Scripture. Scripture cannot be broken. John 10:35. God is sending Elijah to us through time, and he will arrive on the Temple Mount, and the other person being sent with him as a second witness is likely Enoch. There are only two beings taken in time, and that did not die. We'll deal with those in the sequence, and the D sequence goes then into the Great Tribulation, and 141D underline 2. Now the Great Tribulation deals with that period of the 1260 days of the witnesses through until the coming of the Messiah on the 1264th day. It deals also with the 42 months of the beast, which becomes the system seeking to destroy the witnesses, but they cannot until the 1260th day. These things are all prophetic works, all long known for thousands of years, all will come to pass, that cannot be broken. And nobody really wants to understand what's happening, because when you talk to these Sunday worshipping, Christmas and Easter, Baal worshipping heretics, they'll tell you that when they die they go to heaven. Sorry, that's not what's going to happen at all. Satan was given 6,000 years to rule this planet from the expulsion of Adam from Eden. His 6,000 years began when Adam was able to come into judgment at 30, and then it went through, and the time for the 6,000 years ends in 2027 at the Jubilee, the 120th Jubilee. What happens then is that Christ will come at the end of that time, at the death of the witnesses, 4 days afterwards. And then there will be the first resurrection of the dead at his arrival, and he will take over the world. He and the heavenly host will take over the world, and the first resurrection saints will assist in the administration of the world for the 1,000 years. Now that sequence is covered, or the arrival of the Messiah is covered in the Wars of the End Part 3, Armageddon and the Vials of the Wrath of God, number 141E. Christ gets here and smashes the army of the beast power, smashes the army of the world and its systems. The world reacts, and then sends the nations against Christ in a war, and that's covered in Wars of the End Part 3b, the war against Christ, 141E underline 2. We will do further discussions on these aspects. The Wars of the End Part 3c deals with UFOs and aliens, covered in number 141E underline 2b. What is being done is that the demons have confused the understanding of the world and created these aliens as a threat to humanity, and that they will confuse the world in terms of treating the arrival of the host as an alien invasion. That's important that we understand that, and that's covered in the work 141E underline 2b. Now, Wars of the End Part 4 deals with the end of false religion, number 141F. Now, that series shows how Christ will stamp out every one of the false religions on this planet and restore the laws of God and the testimony of Jesus Christ given to the prophets, and also the temple calendar. We have restored it now in the last days. We have recalculated it all on the astronomical data through till 31/27, and are issuing or about to issue that calendar now. Christ will enforce that calendar. There'll be no Sunday, no Christmas, no Easter, no Friday prayers at the mosque. There'll be nothing like that. There'll be no Hinduism and pagan multi-god systems. There'll be no Confucianism and Buddhism or anything else on the planet. It will all be restored, and by the time these wars are finished, there will be no system. By the time the millennium starts, there will be no system not in accordance with the Bible and the temple calendar, flowing from the laws of God and the testimony of Christ. Nobody will be allowed to deviate from it. There will be no other calendar. There will be no other teachings. Anyone who teaches that when they die, they go to heaven, will be put to death and sent to the second resurrection. Nobody will live into the millennial system that has false religion, and that is covered in 141F. The Wars of the End Part 4b, the end of the age, number 141F underline 2, deals with the way that Christ wraps up this age and then prepares for, and we will go into the millennium for 1,000 years. That 1,000 years will be run on this earth. All the false prophets like Ellen G. White, who said that they were all going to heaven to read the books, will simply not be alive. White's dead, but the people that follow her will also not go into the millennial system. Nobody keeping worship on Sundays, like the JWs, who, even though their understanding of the nature of God is more correct, don't keep the law and the testimony, don't keep the calendar. All of this will simply be wiped out. There will be no system left of this earth. No satanic false doctrine will be permitted to exist. No church that lives according to the false doctrine of Satan and keeps Sunday and Christmas and Easter and believes in heaven and hell and doesn't keep the food laws and keeps Sharia and this modern Islamic heresy will die. The world is about to be purged of all false religion. What will take place then is, after the sequence of Daniel through the 1335 days, there will be a complete restoration. In that final 45 days, Christ will deal with the structure so that we will go in. And even though this earth will be damaged seriously, we will go into the millennial system, and in that first, the 121st Jubilee, the first millennial Jubilee, we will restore the earth. And by 2077, we will have reorganized the earth, rebuilt the temple, and structured all of the world systems in accordance with the work, the Golden Jubilee and the Millennium, number 300. Get that and read it, and we will deal with that as we go through this 141 series. Then we see the Wars of the End, Part 5b, which is preparing the Elohim, number 141H. What's important is that the whole plan of salvation, covered in number 001A, is to get us as Elohim, covered in number 001. God gave us the covenant, and he said, you obey my laws and I'll make you gods. Couldn't be a more profound and worthwhile goal for mankind. That's why we were created, no other reason. Now, we didn't do what we were told, but we will be prepared. From the return of the Messiah, we will keep the laws of God and the testimony of Christ and the temple calendar, or we'll simply die. We will not be allowed to pollute the millennial system of Christ with this Trinitarian, Baal-worshipping, Gnostic, antinomian heresies, nor polytheism or anything else like it, nor communism, nor antinomianism, nor atheism, nor anything else. There will be one faith and one baptism under one God. And you get that right, or you will die. So that's our job then, through the second resurrection, to prepare the Elohim and get humans as gods at the end of the second resurrection. It's a magnificent plan. It's fail-safe. God will do it all, and we will help God in the education of the second resurrection if we're in the first. And if you've been in the millennial system under Christ, in the second resurrection, you may well be translated immediately as Elohim at the end of that. It's a great vision and a great future.